Love stories in comics aren't always fairy tales. Sometimes they're twisted, manipulative, or downright abusive. And those stories leave scars that last longer than any supervillain fight. Today, we're counting down the top 10 most toxic superhero relationships, ranked from bad to absolutely devastating. 10. Hawkeye and Mockingbird. Their relation was built on shared missions and trust, but it collapsed under unresolved trauma and secrecy. The breaking point came when Mockingbird was kidnapped and assaulted, and afterward allowed her abuser to die rather than save him. Bobby lied about the circumstances, hoping to protect herself and preserve their bond, but Hawkeye eventually uncovered the truth. It wasn't only her decision that hurt him, it was the dishonesty that followed. That revelation fractured their foundation. Instead of facing pain together, their communication dissolved into silence and mistrust. Every mission reminded them of what they had lost, and the Avengers began noticing the cracks. Their lack of unity endangered both themselves and the team. Though both wanted to recapture what they once had, neither could find the words to heal the rift. In the end, their love eroded not from a single tragedy, but from the inability to rebuild afterward. 9. Rogue and Magneto. Across multiple timelines and alternate realities, Rogue and Magneto's connection has always been shadowed by imbalance. Rogue, struggling with her powers and identity, found Magneto's confidence intoxicating, but Magneto's attraction was often rooted in obsession, not respect. He pushed Rogue into dangerous paths, justifying his methods through his extremist views. Their romance blurred the line between mentorship and manipulation. Rogue never fully consented to the kind of partner Magneto wanted her to be. Yet his influence constantly pulled her closer. It wasn't love built on equality, it was built on control, leaving Rogue torn between attraction and repulsion. At times, Magneto positioned himself as the only one who truly understood Rogue's pain, isolating her from the X-Men while offering validation wrapped in dominance. Rogue, yearning for acceptance, was caught in a cycle of fascination and regret, often realizing too late that Magneto's passion came with strings attached. Their relationship highlights how admiration can be twisted into dependency, and how power dynamics in love can leave lasting scars long after the romance fades. 8. Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Marvel's first family wasn't immune to dysfunction. Reed's obsession with science often left Sue feeling invisible even without her powers. While Reed explored dimensions, Sue was left to hold the family together. During Civil War, Reed sided with Iron Man and authoritarian control, pushing Sue away when she needed him most. The neglect grew so severe that Sue left him entirely. Their marriage became a symbol of how brilliance can collapse under emotional distance. Reed treated Sue like an experiment instead of an equal, fracturing the Fantastic Four from within. Sue constantly had to assert her voice against Reed's calculations, while his inability to prioritize family turned arguments into silences. Even their children, Franklin and Valeria, often acted as glue holding them together. In the end, their marriage showed how neglect and absence can be as damaging as physical blows, creating a quiet toxicity that nearly dismantled Marvel's first family. 7. Cyclops and Emma Frost. Their bond began with betrayal, psychic cheating on Jean Grey, while Jean was still alive. What followed was a relationship built on guilt, power, and manipulation. Emma Frost knew exactly how to exploit Scott's insecurities, offering him the validation he craved, but also steering him toward harsher, authoritarian leadership. She amplified his darker impulses, pushing him down a path that cost him allies and friendships. Scott, in turn, leaned on Emma as both a partner and a shield from his own guilt, finding comfort in her ruthlessness when his own resolve wavered. Their passion was undeniable, but it thrived on pain rather than healing. In Astonishing X-Men, and later during Utopia and Schism, their romance often blurred into a toxic alliance, where intimacy and strategy became inseparable. Instead of lifting each other up, they reinforced each other's worst instincts. It was a romance forged in fire, but one that constantly burned them both, leaving scars on themselves and the entire X-Men legacy. 6. Scarlet Witch and Vision. At first, it seemed like a fairy tale, a witch and an android defying odds to be together. But Wanda's desperate desire for normalcy led her to warp reality itself, creating children without Vision's consent. When the illusion shattered, Vision was devastated, questioning whether anything in their marriage was ever real. The fallout didn't just affect them. It destabilized the Avengers, fractured trust among teammates, and culminated in House of M, where Wanda's grief reshaped the entire Marvel universe. Vision, stripped of memories and rebuilt without their shared history, became increasingly distant, deepening Wanda's spiral. Their story reflects how grief and unchecked power can corrode even the strongest bonds. Vision's cold logic and Wanda's chaotic longing could never coexist without tearing each other apart. What began as one of Marvel's most hopeful romances, instead, became a haunting cautionary tale of love, consumed by tragedy and imbalance. 5. Batman and Talia al Ghul. Bruce Wayne's connection with Talia al Ghul has always been laced with betrayal. While there was genuine attraction and moments of partnership, Talia's loyalty to her father, Ra's al Ghul, often came first. In some continuities, she drugged Bruce in order to conceive Damian Wayne, a violation that turned intimacy into coercion. Even when she professed love, her actions often served her father's legacy, not Bruce's well-being. Their bond blurred the line between ally and enemy, romance and manipulation. Bruce could never fully trust her, yet he could never fully let go either, especially once their son Damian became a living reminder of their tangled past. From secret schemes to outright betrayal, Talia repeatedly used Bruce's vulnerability against him, forcing him to choose between family and mission. What could have been a powerful union instead became another wound in Bruce's endless crusade. A reminder that even love can be weaponized against the Dark Knight. 4. Hal Jordan and Arizia Rabb. Few superhero relationships have drawn as much controversy as Hal Jordan's with Arizia. A teenage Green Lantern, Arizia used her power ring to magically age herself so she could pursue Hal romantically. Instead of rejecting the situation, Hal entered into the relationship, making it appear as though consent could erase the underlying imbalance. The pairing was unsettling because it blurred the line between choice and exploitation. Later stories attempted to retcon or quietly forget the romance, but the damage was done. It remains a stain on Hal's history, not because of cosmic battles or villainy, but because it highlighted how easily love can be written as predatory. It stands as one of DC's most troubling romances, remembered less as a love story and more as a cautionary tale of poor storytelling and uncomfortable implications. 3. Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. This relationship is one of Marvel's darkest. In Avengers number 213, Hank Pym infamously struck Janet, shattering their marriage and forever staining his reputation. But the abuse wasn't a single act. It was the climax of years of instability. Hank's insecurity, identity crises, and mental breakdowns often left Janet shouldering the emotional fallout. She endured neglect, manipulation, and the constant fear of his volatility. Even before that infamous issue, their marriage was marked by imbalance, with Janet frequently forced to forgive or cover for Hank's outbursts. Marvel has since tried to redeem him through storylines of recovery and redemption. Yet, the shadow of that moment persists. It remains a chilling reminder that superheroes aren't immune to real-world issues like domestic abuse, and that sometimes the darkest villains aren't outside the home, but within it, too. Dr. Doom and Invisible Woman. During Secret Wars, Doom didn't just conquer worlds, he conquered lives. By rewriting reality itself, he made Sue Storm believe she was his wife, with Franklin and Valeria Richards believing Doom was their father. This wasn't romance. It was calculated psychological imprisonment. Doom's obsession with Reed's family became twisted possession, robbing them of their agency and rewriting their identities to suit his fantasy. Sue's autonomy was erased, her children's memories stolen, and all of them were forced to live under Doom's illusion of love. What made it especially disturbing was Sue's sincere devotion to him, devotion that wasn't hers to give, but implanted by Doom's manipulation. It turned family into property and affection into a lie. This storyline remains one of Marvel's most unsettling examples of how obsession, when paired with absolute power, can masquerade as love while being nothing more than control and domination. 1. Harley Quinn and the Joker. The most infamous toxic couple in all of comics. Joker's love for Harley was nothing but domination, abuse, and manipulation. He gaslit her, beat her, and constantly reminded her that she was disposable. Harley gave everything. Joker gave nothing but pain. Their cycle of abuse became legendary, a story that horrified readers while also shining a light on real-world patterns of toxic relationships. Joker often dangled affection as a weapon, pulling Harley back in whenever she tried to break free, only to hurt her again. Their partnership endangered countless lives as Joker used Harley as a pawn in his schemes, never as an equal. Yet what makes their story unforgettable is Harley's eventual defiance. Her transformation into a standalone anti-hero wasn't just character growth, it was survival. By reclaiming her agency, she turned years of exploitation into the fuel for her empowerment. Her journey proves that even in the most toxic and abusive bonds, there can be escape, healing, and the chance to build something stronger on her own terms. From betrayal to coercion to outright abuse, these relationships show us that sometimes the biggest villains in a hero's life are the people they love. But they also remind us that breaking free, like Harley did, can be the ultimate act of strength. Who do you think is the most toxic superhero couple? Did we miss one that deserves a spot on this list? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the darker side of comics.